the cash flow cycle. So this is the builder's version, right? And so what we've done is change the things around a little bit more for builders. So revenue 100K, and realistically, any larger jobs, this is going to apply because those previous examples were for much simpler, much smaller jobs. Revenue 100K, cost of sales 80K, gross profit 20K, right? Pretty simple. These are already in your version, right? So we've got stages. Builders will be able to tell me what all these stages are. Deposit. You guys can just tell me if I'm wrong. How does that sound, right? Right. So does that look like a pretty much a build, right? Progress payments. Pretty much, right? Cool. Deposit, base, frame, lockup, fixing, practical completion. Let's check this out. So deposit, we know 5%. We've just had that discussion. That's been confirmed, right? This is what cash flow like, and so particularly when you're talking about now as builders, you guys know the difference between method A and method B. Yep, everyone kind of knows that. Builders, are you guys using method A or method B?
Only method B.
Only method B. Cool, good. But I mean, mind you, it's difficult for a new build, right? So you're not really doing many new builds. Is that fair to say?
No.
Cool. All right. Sweet. Base stage, we can charge 10%. Is that correct? Right. So your cash flow, particularly on like renovations, extensions, I think that's what we're talking about more here, right? Looks a little bit like this. Lockup is what percentage? Builders?
Mate, I don't know.
You guys got to know.
35.
35. Right. Cool. And then fix? 25. 25? Is that accurate? So what we tend to find, and if that line is the middle line, if that line is the break-even line, if you like, then our cash flow ends up bouncing around a little bit like this if we stick to the normal method A. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Hey, Matt, did you switch to method B because you tried method A? And
I've never even used method A.
I never even used it, right?
Someone told me long ago never to use it, so I've done
it. Right. Interesting. I think you'll struggle if you've got banks involved and you're trying to do a new build.
I've just done one. They didn't have any
method B?
Yeah, it wasn't a new build, but it was a substantial second story extension. They didn't bite back at all with any of my terms.
Yeah, I think second story is still extension though. I think it's the new builds that I've heard from builders that you struggle with on the new builds. All right, cool. So it looks a little bit like this. At the end of it all, we've still got 20%, right? Let's just go through this model quickly. And hopefully there'll be some insights for everybody here. So what if somehow, and by the way, so I've got to be clear on, it looks like this to make it a little bit easier. Technically, you can't just say, I'll add an extra 5% on at base stage or add an extra 10% on elsewhere, right? You have to shift the stages around on method B. Is that correct? Yeah, builders? No? Yeah. Do you know enough to know that's correct or not?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So what if you can somehow shift the stages around so you can get paid an extra 5% approximately there and an extra 10% approximately there, right? Then your stages start to look a little bit like this. And this is the point of going method B, I'm guessing, for you. Is that fair to say, Matt?
Yeah.
Cool.
You get to the last payment and it's sort of just, there's not much incentive to finish it.
It's not. Not. And so that is a very interesting point, right? So you've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool.
It's going to cost you 20K to finish it, but there's 20K coming in, so you're like...
Right. You're like, what's the point of this? I might as well just finish it now.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So if we can manage to get some of those payments earlier, right, it starts to look like the bright green line instead of the dark green line and red lines. So the difference here, hopefully it's kind of obvious, right? What's the difference?
You're above the line the whole time.
You're above the line the whole time, right? You're not going into deficit, right?
But doesn't that add up to 120% now?
No. So you still end up in the same place. And that's the point that Matt made. What ends up happening is effectively you're kind of front loading to a degree. So you just simply get paid more up front. And towards the end, that's why Matt's saying at the end, there's like, you get paid 20K, but you've got 20K worth of bills to pay on it.
Yeah, right.
So that's all that's happening. So you still end up, the interesting thing about this is it's just cash flow. It does not improve profitability whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the basic concept behind this is get one payment ahead. Okay. And you can do that with method B if you structure it well. Now, the next thing I want to show you, and you avoid these kind of points in time where you're cash, like heavily cash negative, right? And particularly, I think for smaller builders, these are tough if you're constantly paying for, like you're effectively bankrolling the job, waiting for the next payment, bankrolling the job, waiting for the next payment. And I think that's why a lot of builders have now also switched to cost plus structure, because cost plus means that cash flow is a lot better. So one of the things we avoid if we can structure our cash flow better is stupid stuff happening, right? So spoken with a lot of builders, and it's like you get to lock-up stage, right? And there's a rush on, like you do whatever you need to do to get that progress payment. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
No, that's correct.
That's correct. Right. Because, right, so what we're actually avoiding here, if we do it well, is avoiding this area where we do stupid stuff just to get the payment in, right? And I think there's a lot of people out there who've done something that they're possibly not proud of to make sure that they get the payment in just because it had to happen, right? Now, on the flip side of this, of course, is this top section here. So these areas here, if you shift to this, you've got cash flow that you would not have otherwise had. Does that make sense? So those areas that are highlighted green, you end up with cash flow that you would not have. So I think, Matt, what you were talking about before, like the danger is you get to the end of the job, you got 20K worth of invoices and you got 20K worth of bills, right? And the danger is that if you thought that you already that money was all yours and you've already gone and spent it. Is that fair to say? Right? Because at the top end here, this is where boats and jet skis get bought, right? And so what you've got to be really careful of, if you actually get this, like if you manage to change the payment structure, it's like, understand that it's cash flow, it's not profitability. Cool? So there's dangers on both sides.